Deep in the rustic American Southwest of modern-day Arizona is an area that became infamous with outlaws, mining booms, and the backdrop for Hollywood movies, as well as a story of tenacity that would inspire people for generations. We'll show you this incredible place here on Ghost Towns and More. In a land roamed by outlaws and Apaches, mining prospectors discovered silver in what is now southeastern Arizona. Ed Schieffelin was a scout for the U.S. Army and prospected the area in 1877. Naysayers told him he was more likely to find his own tombstone than any silver. When he did find silver, he decided to name his mining claim Tombstone. When word got out of the silver strike, it didn't take long for other mining prospectors to show up. Schieffelin and his partners formed the Tombstone Mining and Milling Company. A stamp mill was constructed and a new settlement was platted. In 1879, the town was named Tombstone after Schieffelin's mining claim. The silver mining business took off and for a time rewarded its owners and workers handsomely. The population grew to thousands, and after Cochise County was formed in 1881, the town of Tombstone became the county seat. With big money being made by over 6,000 miners, they were spending lavishly in the new town. In the crowded, busy atmosphere of Tombstone, lawlessness soon brought trouble. In 1881, lawmen Wyatt Earp, his brother Virgil, and Doc Holliday were confronted on the afternoon of October 26th by Billy and Ike Clanton and Frank and Tom McClary, members of the cattle thieving gang near the now infamous OK Corral. The bandits were ordered to surrender their weapons, but instead, gunfire rang out. When the smoke cleared, 3 of the gang were dead and Doc Holliday was wounded. The gunfight at the OK Corral and the surviving lawmen became legend, and their story has since been romanticized in movies, books, and reenactments to this day. But the real story of Tombstone is not about the meaningless deaths of gun-twirling bandits, but of the people facing daunting challenges of survival, where true grit and fierce determination left an inspiring legacy. People and families were trying to make a go of life in an inhospitable environment of not just the deserts, but of the rough and tough atmosphere imposed on settlers from lawlessness and Apache raids. Chris and Alice Robertson were newlyweds when they made their home near Tombstone. Conditions were harsh and lonely, and it was there that their first child, Ethel, was born on August 6th, the same year as the shootout at the OK Corral in 1881. In the years that followed, 4 more children were born to this family. By the middle of the 1890s, Alice's health began to deteriorate and she passed away at the young age of 31. Ethel was 14, and with her father often working away from home, the responsibilities of caring for her younger siblings fell on her. When Ethel was 18, tragedy struck again. Her father had witnessed a train robbery. The gunmen saw that Chris Robertson could identify them and decided to send one of their murderous gang to take care of him. In October of 1899, Chris was gunned down. A friend rushed to Ethel's home to inform her of the tragedy. The news was almost more than she could bear. As the friend held her, Ethel cried out, "Oh God, give me strength." Her friend told Ethel just to live one day at a time. It will not be easy, but you will make it. Ethel was now the sole caretaker of her orphaned siblings. Since Ethel's father did not leave a will, his estate and his children became wards of the court. Guardians were assigned over the orphans, and Ethel was allotted a small amount each month to cover expenses. When Ethel was 21, she petitioned the court for custody of her siblings. Upon doing so, she discovered her court-appointed guardians had drained her father's $70,000 estate to nothing in just 3 years, leaving her with a $400 debt which she refused to pay. Now penniless, Ethel bravely faced her daunting future. She continued to raise her brothers and sisters until they matured. Ethel met and fell in love with the mining foreman, James Herbert Messiah, and were soon married. In 1920, when the Arcade Hotel in Tombstone went up for sale, the Messiahs decided to purchase it. Behind the hotel was a beautiful rose plant that had an amazing story of its own. It was named the Lady Banksia, or Rose Tree. The plant was believed to have arrived in a shipment from Scotland as a cutting, sent to a young bride from relatives in about 1895. The bride shared this cutting with the former hotel owner, who decided to plant it in the back patio. By the time the Messiahs purchased the hotel in 1920, the rose plant had become quite large. The years following the mining boom in Tombstone were difficult as the mines began to play out and people moved away. The Messiah family hung on as guests came and went from their hotel. The rose tree continued to grow so much that Ethel's husband Bert decided to build a support trellis, and as it grew, it began to form a canopy over the patio. In 1937, famed columnist Robert Ripley visited the hotel and declared the rose tree to be the largest in the world. Then the fame of the tree and the hotel became widespread.
Robert Ripley, who had been Ripley's Believe It or Not, which is a column in the Los Angeles Times, and he went around the country and the world in the 1930s writing this column. He came here and he declared it the world's largest rose bush.
The rose tree continued to grow, and with it so did its fame. People came from all over the world to see it. Television programs and tourism brought notoriety to the town of Tombstone and the rose tree. People who came to see it returned in later years with their children and grandchildren.
I think the most remarkable story, the thing that stuck with me most, was I had a woman in here, and she identified herself as being in her mid-70s. And she said, I brought my granddaughter to see the rose tree because my grandmother brought me.
Like the town of Tombstone, the rose tree is emblematic of the growth of life, endurance, and tenacity that has allowed it to continue to thrive today. The legacy of Ethel Robertson Messiah is a story of heartache and tragedy to triumph and resilience. The rose tree she nurtured has outlived everyone that lived a century ago.
This, in many ways, is an American story. I don't think a lot of people fully understand, to me anyway, the symbolism this is. It's an aspect of the history of Tombstone that is remarkable unto itself. And it's weaved in with the people. This family is part of the people and the circumstances that have made this town.
Today, Tombstone is a living ghost town, and although it has been preserved for tourism, it has been done so with a careful balance so as to keep the historical integrity of the town. Shops and period buildings make it very appealing for tourists to come and enjoy a sense of the rugged Old West. The reenactments of the shootout at OK Corral are played out in the town each day with actors and gunslinging lawmen dressed for the occasion to make your visit entertaining and fun for everyone in the family. The Rose Tree Museum is not to be missed and is located on 4th Street just off the center street of the town. Tombstone is among other ghost towns in the area that are perfect for visiting in the cooler months of the year.